guys, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'll be sharing with you my top 3 vintage bag brands. I'll be talking about 3 brands which I have owned the most handbags in my collection. For each brand that I mentioned in this video, I'll be sharing with you the reasons why I like this brand so much, and I'll also be showing you my first handbag from the brand and also my favorite one in the collection. Without further ado, let's get into it. So for the first one I'm going to mention, I actually never thought that I would have owned so much handbags from this brand, and it's Fendi. So I've always thought that Fendi has some of the most chic and bold handbag designs, but I just never thought that I have owned so much Fendi vintage handbags. But then I guess there is a reason why I owned so many Fendi handbags, especially if you have watched my last video on my Fendi Baguette collection. So talking about my first ever Fendi vintage bag is actually this Boston bag. It is the one in a small size, which it measured around 24 centimeters in the length. They also got a mini size, which is 20 cm, and another super mini size in the 17 centimeters. Those two sizes are very popular in the vintage market, but I personally find that the small size in the 24 centimeters is the most functional. This Boston bag is actually made of coated canvas with this very iconic pattern of Fendi, which they call the pequin. Although it is kind of a small bag, but because of the width here, it actually fits quite a lot. So as you can see, when this bag opens up, it actually fits a lot, and the depth and the width, it's really large. I also like the tiny details of this bag, like they have got a logo in the front, and in the zipper they also got the Fendi logo here. It got this little top handle, which I like, and in its original design it also got a long strap which you can put on these little hooks on here and on the back side, so it can be wear as a shoulder bag or a crossbody bag. Overall, I really like this bag in terms of the bag style, which is a Boston bag, and also the pattern. I actually like this Boston bag style so much that I have once considered getting another one in the black version. If you have already watched my previous video on my Fendi Baguette collection, you probably know that that is my favorite bag style of Fendi. And among the 4 Fendi baguettes which I have owned, I'll probably say that the Mama baguette is my favorite one. Not because it is a really functional size, but I really like the color combo of it. It is very pretty in a light brown with a beige strap. And also because you can fit a tons of stuff inside the Mama baguette, it makes it really functional. I'll link down below my video on my Fendi Baguette collection, so you can check it out and see what other baguettes I've got. In second place, it will be the brand Chanel. I love Chanel vintage, and I love the vintage lambskin. The softness, it's really luxurious, and there's nothing you can beat a good Chanel vintage lambskin. And also, its gold hardware contains 24 karat gold plated, so it's really shiny and yellowish. My first Chanel vintage bag is this Diana bag in a small size, and I have to say it is actually also my favorite bag. I just fell in love with the Diana bag the first time I saw it, and I think it's actually more beautiful than the classic flap. The small size in the black lambskin is so iconic, and it's really a classic for me. It forever has a special place in my heart. But other than the Diana bag, if I have to pick another bag in my Chanel vintage collection to be my second favorite, I will actually choose the classic flap in the beige and in a small size. I have always preferred the classic flap in a small size because I think the proportion is really good, and I've always liked the beige color in Chanel Vintage. So this beige classic flap in a small size, it's really a dream combo for me. It is actually my second beige classic flap that I've got, which I have a video talking the long story of how I got the first one and found it to be recolored and eventually sold it. And you can check my previous video before on the story on this one. Overall, I love both bags, and I would say if you'd like to purchase your first Chanel Vintage bag, you can't go wrong with either the diner bag or the classic flap. I love both in my collection. And the top vintage handbag brand in my collection, which also is the brand that I have owned most handbags and definitely my favorite vintage brand, is Celine. Celine Vintage is definitely my favorite brand, and I especially love their monogram, or what people call the macadam. I prefer the vintage monogram much more than the modern ones, and I think they are really classic and will never go out of style. The first Celine Vintage bag I got is this Kelly bag in the brown monogram style. It is also my first ever vintage bag that I've got and kept. I think this bag will forever stay in my collection because it is just so beautiful. I like the design of this bag, the color of this bag, and also the macadam on this bag. As for my favorite Celine Vintage bag in my collection, it's difficult to choose, but I would have to pick the black macadam tote bag. First of all, I really like the black macadam. I think among all the colors, the black one is the most beautiful. And I also like this tote bag style. It is super functional and can be used as a very good everyday bag. I would also like to do an honorable mention bag of Celine here, because if we're talking about Celine Vintage, we cannot not mention this bag, which is the horse carriage bag. It is just so iconic, and many has considered it as a must-have bag for Celine Vintage. I have done a whole review video on this bag, so please check it out if you're interested. You can also check out my Celine Vintage bag collection to see my other Celine Vintage bags, which I loved as much. So this has come to the end of today's video. I enjoyed so much talking about these three brands, which I've owned the most handbags in my collection. I'm excited to share with you all my other vintage bags and brands that I like, such as Dior and Louis Vuitton. Please let me know in the comments below if you're interested in any of these type of videos or any of the brands. Thank you for watching today's video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!